So the players are spawning in now on this metal planet, reasonably close together as well. And before I continue, I'm just going to say hello and welcome everyone. This is round 3 of the Super Swiss tournament. Today we have Orb in purple versus Kai in orange. And this is match AJ if you're looking for the brackets. So over here from Orb we have a bot factory first, followed by a second bot factory and an air factory with a mechs coming up as well. No PGens yet. And from Kai as well, another double bot factory spawn with a single mech. So no air factory from Kai there. And of course Orb has now set up a couple of PGens, and it seems as though he's doing a sort of factory PGen, factory PGen sort of build. And he's also got out his first fabricator as well, so he's going to expand with metal for that. Hopefully with his air factory he'll be getting out some fireflies or some hummingbirds to go around and have a look at have a scout, because of course the quicker he finds Kai, the sooner he knows exactly what he's up to, and can start to factor in what he can do against it. So over here, interestingly, Kai has assisted a fabricator with a docks. Really good move there, except it's still only in his base, so it's not really going to come into its own just yet. But I don't think it's going to really protect him too much if Orb decides to go and transition into bumblebees, which he may well do. Because of course docks aren't brilliant at anti-air. They do have the capability, but they aren't fantastic at it. Meanwhile, however, Kai now swarming docks onto the battlefield, so that's a really good idea for him. Now, looking at what these players can actually want to do in this instance, because of course this is a metal planet. There are a few numbers at choke points here, so towards the north there, just outside Kai's base, you've got a choke point, and to the south as well, as the crow flies between these players. Or of course you could sort of bypass and go around the south to this wider choke here, or again you could even go the opposite direction entirely, which is what these random scouting docks are apparently doing. Now we did see there that Orb managed to get a good successful scout on Kai, so let's have a look at what Orb can see. He's even got a radar installation up as well, so he's actually got the radar pings there, and he's sending a really interesting force of docks here through a trench. You don't tend to see this used too much, these trenches, so that's really interesting there. Going to come up here and really effectively raid this expansion, although it does look as though Kai is going to respond to this, which he does, but the bumblebees come in, taking out the fabricators and the aggressive force as well. That was a really good run from that bumblebee there, even though it was a suicide to the spinner up north, but that was a really good run. It stopped the expansion and it took out that mechs as well, which was really good. And of course now we're just going to have the micro, and of course a follow-up force coming in through the trench as well. The commander might have to be forced to respond to deal with this, but of course Kai now transitioning to vehicles, which are of course stronger than bots, but it does take more vehicle numbers, because bots do have the vastly superior mobility. But now we actually see these docks from Kai. These guys could take out this expansion from Orb. Let's have a look at what Orb can see. He's probably seen all of these pings and is thinking, oh dear, I need to get my fabbers safe so I don't have to rebuild them. I don't want to befall the same fate as Kai's fabricators over there. Unfortunately, he does not. He does manage to get into his base, although he's moving out again. He could run straight into this docks here if he's not too careful. Might even want to put up a single laser turret here or there just to make sure, because those dodgy scouting docks are a little bit pesky for you if you're on the receiving end. Meanwhile, now we've got a few attacks coming in from multiple different angles now onto Kai's base. Good use of the 360 there from Orb. Got a few up the north from trying to do a little bit of damage to those mechs, not actually taking any down unfortunately, because there are a couple of tanks there, but now a rather large force of tanks inside Kai's base, forcing those docks from Orb to retreat. He doesn't want to encroach there too much. He'll just waste forces for not a lot of gain at all. He now needs to really start thinking about saving his forces and getting up a lot more build power, because currently if we look over in the army tab, factory count is even, except one of those is air. In fact, 2 of those are air from Orb. And looking at Kai's unit composition there, he does have the odd little bit of anti-air mixed in, although there is only one spinner, but he does have his commander central in his base, which is going to be so crucial when defending against the bombing runs that may decide to go against the factories there. Another force of docks coming through the trench as well. Trying to bypass this lot and take out the spinner first. Take out the spinner first, because then you can't lose any more units to it. Doesn't look as though it's been targeted yet, and the Bumblebee does go down. Really poor micro there. If he'd have taken down that spinner first, that Bumblebee would have survived a lot longer, which is a real shame. Meanwhile, another harassing force of docks on the North Pole here, taking out a metal extractor right on the edge of the base there. They are going to get a little bit of sandwiched here between these groups of bolos. But that was really good harass, taking out 2 mechs and potentially a P-Gen as well. Will they get down the P-Gen? I don't think they will, which is a real shame. If only they'd have moved a little bit closer and paid attention to what was moving their way. I think that would have gone a different way entirely. Although at this point a P-Gen really wouldn't have been too much of a gain, because this is a rather significant force moving out here, because Kai on the unit count there, 96 to 92, except quite a few of the mobile units from Orb are interceptors, and of course they are completely redundant at the moment, as Kai has not invested anything in air units. So of course that is a complete and utter waste of resources from Orb now, although they are going to be there to act as a sort of meat shield from the Bumblebees. But interceptors, when the push comes to shove, cannot attack tanks nor bots. And that's exactly what Orb needs to do right now, as all of his units are actually in the wrong positions. If we look in the picture-in-picture, we can see all of his units are sort of dotted around. He has got a small clump there in the edge of his base, but he's going to have to move his commander out to deal with this and get a few Ubercans off. But what's really worrying is the second follow-up force that's beginning to form. Though there was a little bit of harassment there, still not a particular amount of damage done. Another Bumblebee comes in. They need to take out those spinners first. That's the real big priority there for those Bumblebees. Otherwise they're just going to lose bombers, and lose more bombers. And that's not exactly ideal. Really interesting move here as well. Really good idea to divert all of these docks, because of course they are faster moving than if you combine them with tanks, and they're just going to go and raid all of this unprotected mechs around the northern hemisphere here, completely devastate that expansion, and really isolate Orb's main base here, where his commander is of course forced to, well, Ubercan and a destroyed metal extractor. He then reclaims it to rebuild it. However, looking on the horizon there, we can see the follow-up army beginning to encroach and begin to form as well. Back in the midst of Kai's base, Orb desperately trying to raid from the other side, but keeping that little defensive force there from Kai, really great idea. Just stopping any of those pesky raiders. The commander here not taken any damage yet. He's still building up more and more bot factories, and of course Kai is in the positive for his economy, so he can keep building these bot factories. Moving out into the main view here, back over, because we've got a commander under attack here, as this vehicle factory desperately tries to defend him. Lots of interceptors coming in, but of course none of them they're actually defending against that Bumblebee. But the Bumblebee, you want to watch where its turning circle is, because it does have quite a large one. That's a lot of interceptors there. I think he can stop building interceptors in his queue for the time being, and if he really wants to go for Bumblebees, he just has to go for Bumblebees. And you know, you can get a fair amount of damage off with those Bumblebees should you decide to spam them up. But here are the spinners here. This is the big problem for the air. That's a lot that's been transitioned in now. I think he's got this factory here completely on the repeat build queue for those spinners. That's going to spell a lot of trouble for Orb there, which is really unfortunately why I no use awesome projectiles, asks Total Annihilation. Reason being, I haven't really done anything with PA for the week and a half at least. I've just been trying to get my dissertation off the floor, and to be honest, I kind of like projectiles as they are. I don't necessarily need to see colours flying everywhere. That's just me. However, back to the action here is we've got a number of docks just sort of laying dormant there, ready I believe, but in fact rather interestingly we've got boombots transitioned here from Kai's commander. This is going to be a little bit of a problem if they can catch Orb's commander out in the open, and that is of course they will need a few more numbers than that, but they'll have to catch the commander in the open, as I say, and at the moment he's not exactly in the open. All Kai needs to do actually is just sort of devastate the defending forces and then the boombots providing they have vision on the commander, can just stream in, and given they have enough unit numbers and population, they will take him down instantly. But there's just too much anti-air to take any bombing runs at this group now, and the Uber Cannon there misses as well. Really poor placed Uber Cannon. He can shoot across the trench, however, so that could be a really good defensive move there. He just manages to get a couple of hits off, but I think this is something of a diversion, or at least I would have used it as one, moving all of the units to the other side of the base. He is going to run into a double point laser turret there, just in case that doesn't get built, but the big worry is those boom bots. Where have they gone? And have they gotten any more numbers? No, they haven't yet. Which is really interesting that he's not prioritising those boom bots. Another confrontation down on this side here between this docks and the defending force. Defending force is vastly superior to that. Those docks do not want to engage with it, but there's this entire undefended mechs field over here that Kai can do nothing about. And actually, looking at the economy tab, Orb has got greater metal income, and he's floating as well. He needs to get more factories up as soon as he possibly can, because he really needs to use all of that metal that's available to him. And of course a couple of P-gens wouldn't go amiss either, because he is of course stalling in that. But he's got so much metal, really surprising actually, considering he's been on the back foot. But of course he has all of this southern expansion, which is really surprising. A few of these boom bots would make short work of that from Kai here. But what worries me is the fact that there are actually quite a few boom bots on the field now. They are all in different parts of the base and in different groups, but that's quite a few if you total that up. That's probably going to be about 20-30 boom bots. And that's enough to do significant damage to a commander. Bombing run coming in once again over a whole bunch of spinners. They don't want to do that. Lost already a bumblebee. Just getting a little bit of scouting intel there at the end of the day. So even that was a good job there from Orb. He did manage to get some scouting, so he does now see the massive factory count, and of course he does now see this rather large force on his borders there. And he has been putting up some static defences just to hold off for the time being while he gets his factories sorted. Let's have a look there. Factory count 17 to 15, so Orb is now back in the running. So however, 3 are the air factories, so it's more like 14 to 15. But I feel as though this game is still all to play for. Even though Orb is kind of in a corner here, Kai hasn't really been doing the best he can with regards to raiding, and Orb here really needs to do a better job of defending this raid. These bumblebees here can really devastate that docks force before they take out this fabricator, which is crucial that that fabricator stays alive. And unfortunately, all the aircraft landing, the docks moving forward, they see the docks, they see the fabricator, they're going to take that down. They could have taken down all of that air force, and unfortunately their Orb only just noticing. And a little bit of misclick there. Moving up to advanced vehicles there from Kai. Really interesting move as well. So he's going to be able to use a little bit of that economy, though he does need some more P-gens. He is stalling a little bit in that regard. Let's have a look around for the boombot count again. Unfortunately I can't get individual unit counts as a caster yet, but there's potential there for a commander snipe, especially now considering the commander is on his own over the north side there. All it's going to take is for Kai to see that commander, and those boombots should rally straight there for the ultimate cheesy snipe after this really sort of interesting game actually, even though, you know, as I say, Orb has been sort of squashed into a hole there. But he's now making his massive push offensive. I think this is his all or nothing, as he thinks he has the unit composition to take out Kai's forces. Because of course, really interestingly, if you force someone to put in a lot of anti-air into their mixture, that's a lot of units that cannot shoot at ground. And of course, if you can then outnumber on the ground, all of those anti-air are obsolete. And this commander here is a really powerful frontline weapon. But the boombots have been mobilized. I think we're going to see a snipe here. Orb needs to be careful. That's a lot of boombots on the side there. But it does look as though they're trickling in. If you're just going to move, although they are currently just going to run straight into tanks. I think that the commander there from Orb did see all those boombots. He doesn't want to be sat there for too much longer as he tries desperately to retreat. But here come the boombots now. There's not enough there, I don't think, to get off a commander snipe in their own right. But I think they're going to try and go to commander on there. Looking from Orb's perspective, he does see the boombots. I think he realises that that's the strategy now from Kai. And this is going to be a really big issue. He wants to possibly put up a few walls just to defend his commander. Meanwhile, on the other side of the base, we do have a little bit of encroachment from docks there, and on the southern side as well. I think this is the beginning of the end for Orb here. He's got so many units surrounding him on different sides, and his, of course, expansion. He's done really well there. He's got his expansion going again. But he's got attacking forces coming in from the south, and this fabricator is not going to get that laser pointer up in time. And that's a lot of factories that are going to go down here to all of these infernos, which can just chew through them like nobody's business. That is, providing they don't run into too much resistance. Meanwhile, back here we've got the advanced vehicle factory complete. That's going to bolster Kai's economy really big there. And of course, getting out the shellers as well. That's going to really devastate devastate Orb in the long run now, because he just hasn't really responded to this. Has he scouted it? Yes, he has, but he didn't really respond to it very well. He just tried to get up to so many vehicles that unfortunately Kai just sort of had that advantage for the majority of the game there. And I think what Orb could do is just sort of push with his commander and take out this force here and push into the north side of the Kai's base, although he will have to be careful of those boombots. But I do feel he does still have a chance with the commander push. I honestly do. Not to mention probably a bit more of more persistent effort into bomber production there for the majority of the game, and he might well have done a lot more raiding. But what he needs to do here is see this and take this out. This is a prime bombing run here. All of those fabricators and an advanced fabber and a sheller there as well, undefended from bombers. He needs to see that and he needs to respond to it. Meanwhile, however, this is going to be the deciding one here. Can Orb make the push? Can he make the push? Because meanwhile, of course, Kai is getting up his forces. He has made a pretty big dent there, taking out 5 vehicle factories in the back of Orb's base there. But now the sheller coming out the front to defend. That's going to be pretty devastating for this frontline force from Orb, which is just sort of sitting there, getting slowly picked off from the superior unit numbers and build power from Kai, which isn't advised, although Orb does now have 2 more factories, and there's the first shell. That's going to do a lot of damage, and the boombots on the north side as well there. Let's keep an eye on the commander. We don't want to miss a commander snipe. We'll keep an eye on him in the picture-in-picture there, just in case, because he is quite open actually. There is the double point laser turret there, but all it's going to take is a few docks to take a little bit of the damage there. In come the bombers. Are they ready for a sheller snipe? Can they go and take out that sheller? That's really important for them to do so. There's a couple of shellers there now undefended. If they can get that snipe, that'll be really good for them to do. I mean, sort of taking a step back here, looking at the unit compositions, I feel as though Orb really can make a big dent now. Unfortunately, he put his aircraft into the more anti-air blob. There are a few spinners left in there that can do a fair amount of damage, but what they really want to do is take out these shellers before they get too close. That should be their priority, but that again is still quite a few boombots up there, and a second advanced vehicle factory now as well. This is really going to be an issue. Another good bit of raiding on the other side of the planet there from Orb as well. What he can do is, he's actually got quite a few air units actually now. And there's the boombots attempting to come in. The commander does see those. He does manage to avoid that snipe. Unfortunately, they did all go into that vehicle factory rather than the commander. I think they were just cutting their losses and saying, you know what, we won't be able to get a commander kill, let's just take out a vehicle factory. Though, you know, the commander can now use that as a little bit of cover. What are all these fabricators doing here? Are they going to start doing a pelter creep? Let's have a look if they've been given a build command. Nope, they're just going to be expanding right on the edge of Orb's base there. Orb's still superior economy, amazingly, despite the advanced economy there from Kai, who now does have a vanguard, so more scouting is needed from Orb, but that's quite a few bombers there. This, I reckon, Orb is going to turn this around, I really do, because he's had the superior economy for the majority of the game. And he can definitely take out the vanguard and the shellers there without any trouble at all, and he's going to just go in and hamper the economy entirely. He does see the commander down there, he does see the 2 advanced vehicle factories, and Kai now desperately responding to this with an air factory of his own. He realises, oh, that's a lot of bombers. And Kai calling the GG as well. Bomber snipe coming in on that commander. There's not a lot he can do about this. Really well played from Orb there, actually. I thought he was on the brink of a loss there for the time being, but that was really well fought back. And Kai is taken out. I suspect that was probably just a better unit compositions from Orb. I feel as though the transition to the advanced vehicles there from Kai was probably the main issue that held him back there a little bit. Let's go into Chronocam there. Just have a look through, because there were some times where, you know, you could have sworn Orb was, you know, definitely trailing a bit. Like here, for instance, when he just had these units constantly harassing him and he was just sat in this single spot, but he did have all of this expansion that Kai just couldn't keep up with. He did have a bit of expansion of his own there, but nowhere near as much as Orb. So I think Orb doing a good job of harassing the expansions and expanding himself was probably what won this game for him, if I'm honest, along with the unit compositions there. And Kai is sort of just sitting on the outside of his base there with a large number of units, but never really making a worthy impression. It's a good defensive strategies here from Orb as well. So I'll be right back, folks, and I'll see what the next game holds.
I'd like to see a planet being blasted by a gigantic death laser. Oh yes. Yes? No? Oh, okay then, fine. We won't do it. Well, that's up to Orange to decide as the fire catalyst is activated. There is the planetary laser now. Let's go from the view of the desert planet there from afar. We can see the metal planet gonna fire from the distance. Hopefully we'll see that this doesn't actually miss, but as the planet now aims and triggers the laser momentarily for the finale of this amazing game. There it goes! Blue team is annihilated! Well done, Orange. That was something. Swing and a miss a few times. You got it.